Hey everybody, my name is Dan Clark, and I was a Jehovah's Witness for 40 years, and I want to talk a little bit today about the rewards of being a Jehovah's Witness for 40 years and what I experienced. First of all, I want to tell you I have a YouTube page called Life After Religion. I also have a Facebook page called Life After Religion. So if you haven't checked them out, check them out. On my YouTube page, I have over 80 videos. And anyway, I'd just like you to go over there and check them out. They have a lot of history. It goes back about 10, 15 years. And I discuss a lot of the older publications and what I went through in my 40 years of being a Jehovah's Witness. And let me get rid of this pop-up. And so now I want to talk about the rewards that I received, my father received, my grandfather, after giving our whole life to Jehovah. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses require everything, all of your time. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, we had 5 meetings a week. Monday night, we studied for Tuesday night. Tuesday night was the book study. So we had question and answers. So we literally Monday night had to read it, study it, underline it. And then Tuesday night, we got dressed in our suit and tie, and we went to the meeting, and we had participation. And then Wednesday night, we studied for the Theocratic Ministry School and Circuit and the other meeting, which was a 2-hour meeting for Thursday. And that was participation too, because we had talks, we had all sorts of things we had to do to prepare for that meeting, for the Thursday night meeting. And then Friday, we had to prepare for Saturday morning field service, going door to door. We had to study the Watchtowers, make presentations, and then go door to door on Saturday and record all of that and take it home and do our return visits and all that sort of stuff. And then Saturday night, we had to study for Watchtower Sunday morning. And we had a public talk, which was an hour, and then we had a Watchtower that was an hour, and it was question and answer with participation, so we had to study for that. So we pretty much had our whole life wrapped around Jehovah's Witnesses. I gave up my education. I graduated with a D- because I wasn't into school, because school was going to all end for me by 1975. My dad convinced us that it would all be over, so I forfeited my education, my college education. I forfeited my whole life. I forfeited my teenage years, my high school years. I never got to play football. I never got to participate in extracurricular activities. I never got to do anything because all of it was using the world to the full. All was being a part of the world that was going to pass away any day. All the people were going to be genocided who didn't know Jehovah. So we stuck with that. We gave our life. We said that this organization was the mediator between us and God. And so we trusted everything they said. They told us that Jehovah placed them over all his belongings, placed the governing body, the faithful and discreet slave, to distribute food, their spiritual food, to us at the proper time. So we always just sat and wait, and we gave it all over. We gave our whole life. I gave 40 years. My dad gave his whole life. My grandfather gave his whole life. And so what I want to talk about right now is the reward for that. My dad gave away, let me get rid of this pop-up. I don't know why they keep popping up. But my dad gave his whole life. He married my mother. My grandfather said he had to be a Jehovah's Witness to marry her. So he married her. And at the end of his life, he went through 75. He said it would all be over by 75. Well, 75 passed, and the Watchtower really didn't discuss it. They speedily moved up into a new prophecy called the Generation Prophecy. Well, my dad had given his whole life. He'd waited. He gave his health. He didn't take care of himself. He didn't put money away. You didn't need to. The world was going to end. 1975, the tribulation was going to start. And so the Watchtower promoted and promoted and promoted. Well, what happened to my dad? Well, my dad got sick and died. My mother ended up in a mental ward, and we all kind of scattered. And anyway, there was a lot of people who left that time. And I want to tell you what their reward was for saying, I don't know if we can trust this organization. I gave my whole life to these guys. There were thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that had given everything. Some of them gave their homes, their pensions, everything to Jehovah. They gave all of their time for sure in special pioneering. And their word was that they were branded as apostates, that they had left, and they weren't faithful to Jehovah to the end, despite that the governing body set these deadlines, said they heard from Jehovah and set these deadlines. Well, anyway, I wasn't too into the 75. I saw that come and go. I wondered why my dad was kind of disappointed, but he was involved in a false prophecy, but you're told never to question governing body. Well, I was heavily involved in the next prophecy, which was the generation prophecy that said that the world was going to end, everything that was happening in this generation, which was nation rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, food shortages. It said that within this generation of 70 or 80 years would also be the Great Tribulation, based on Matthew 21. And so we were preaching this generation prophecy. It was going to happen, because all these things were happening in this generation. And the food shortages, earthquakes, and all these things. And the Great Tribulation was going to come. So we're like, oh my goodness. Well, in the late 80s, that prophecy started to change. And anyway, I was like, what's going on? Well, they told us all to go to the assembly. And you know how it is. The rumor starts. Jehovah's given new information. And so we all ran to the assemblies to get the new books. And basically, they said, this generation isn't a generation as we know it of 70 or 80 years. This generation is this and that. Anyway, long story short, they changed it. They changed it to the overlapping generation. So I, as a good steward of Jehovah, I went in and talked to the brothers. I said, brothers, I've got a question. I went to the elders and I said, did a prophecy just pass by? Was there a generation prophecy? And we were preaching and they looked at me with this blank stare in their face and they said, why are you asking these questions? And I'm like, I just lived the prophecy. I just, and you're telling me there's new information now. And so anyway, I sat back and I thought, wow, they're not even going to discuss this. They're not even going to talk about it. Now they're talking about some overlapping generation prophecy. Well, a brother came up to me and he says, hey, Dan, you're asking too many questions. And I said, too many questions? I just asked him about the generation prophecy. What do you mean I'm asking him too many questions? And he says, let me show you a letter that just came back from the society, the governing body, the society in Brooklyn, New York. And it said I was on Apostate watch. Apostate watch. And I said, what the heck? And so I'm like, for what? And I was like, totally like, no, this is wrong. And I said, oh my God, it was wrong in 75. And these guys don't even apologize. So anyway, I sent him my letter. I said, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. So they branded me when I left. Now, here was my reward for 40 years and for asking the governing body a question, what happened with the generation prophecy that you guys were telling us we were in? I got branded as a runaway slave. See, when you're a Jehovah's Witness, the anointed remnant, they're the prima donnas. They're the ones who drink the wine and take the bread. Nobody else can do that. Only those that are going to heaven. The rest of us, we call ourselves good-for-nothing slaves. And we say what we're doing, we ought to be doing. It's like just shut your mouth and do the work and get your butt out door to door and sell our prophecies. They call us good-for-nothing slaves, and we actually say that. When they say, who are you in relation to the anointed remnant, to those who are going to heaven, we say we're good-for-nothing slaves, and what we're doing, we ought to be doing. And so we acknowledge this slavery, this servitude, that we are slaves to the governing body. And they're a mediator. They're the godly ones. They're the ones way up here, and we're way down here. And so anyway, I didn't realize that, how strong that was. But when you leave, after 40 years of giving my whole life, missing all my proms, missing all my schooling, all my stuff, giving up everything. I didn't read literature. I didn't do anything. I just had sort of jobs, sort of part-time jobs, jobs where I never had to work on Saturday. I quit so many jobs. I didn't marry certain women that I really liked, that were worldly. I mean, I gave up all of that to served Jehovah, or served this organization, this man-made organization, authoritarian-run organization. Well, what I got when I left was the same thing that people got in 1975. They got thrown away. They got branded as runaway slaves. And they call those people apostates when you leave. Because you're a good-for-nothing slave when you're there, when you leave, you're branded a runaway slave. And a runaway slave is called an apostate. And what else they do on top of that is they give you a death sentence when you leave. They say when you leave, you're going to be part of not of the second resurrection. You're not going to be able to be part of the second resurrection because you've left us. You are going to suffer the second death. So you leave with a death curse on your head. It's not only that you just get to walk away from a religious organization and start turning over some rocks and go somewhere else. You have to recover from a death sentence. And it's so sad because, like I heard that Morrison guy, one of the governing bodies, I forget what is Anthony Morris. I mean, when he said, that he wished that we were all going to die, he said, won't you be glad when they're all gone? When they're all gone, never to return again on the face of the earth and blown away. Like a match, and he blows out a match. He actually lights a match. That was my reward for 40 years, giving up everything. When I left, I had no self-esteem. I hadn't accomplished anything in the world. I mean, basically, I just passed out their literature and, made all my meetings and passed out their books. And I was 100% in, like a lot of you people were. But, I think there comes a time where we got to say, what was our reward? What was our father's reward? I mean, my father's reward was the same. Guilt and shame. He started not making the meetings because he got tired and he was trying to take care of my mother. And nobody came to visit him. And when they did, all they did was shame him. All they did was say, Mel, we notice you're not having a study with your kids. And he was having to work out of a town, take care of a mentally ill wife. He had to take care of 4 kids. And there was no grace there. You're a workhorse for Watchtower. You're a workhorse for governing body. For those 8 men in Brooklyn, New York, you're a workhorse. And when you slow down, they don't even come visit you. I know a lot of people who died deaths by themselves. My grandfather, and in dying themselves, they're like disappointed. My grandfather, along with many others, says, I think I may have gotten it wrong. I waited. I did my whole life. Now, he died, I think it was in the 80s. He went through the 75 prophecy, I think maybe even the generation a little bit. But he died and he said, I may have gotten something wrong here. He gave his whole life. You know what his reward for it was? Grandfather went nuts just before he died. Maybe he came to his senses is what he's done. But these guys, the reward you get for giving a lifetime of service to their organization, building their buildings, building their kingdom halls, staying up all night, building kingdom hall after kingdom hall, the 2-day builds, sending people to Brooklyn, New York to work for basically hardly nothing, is runaway slave, is cursed, second death, hatred. The governing body hates people who leave. They don't like them. And that's why there's a 2 to 5 year wait before you ever can get back. Really, when you try to get back, after you leave, you got to sit in the back of the hall for 2 to 5 years and beg them to get back. And you're fortunate to get back, and I don't think they want you back. And that's another video I just did, by the way. But I want you guys to think about that, to talk to your Jehovah's Witness friends if you're able. And to tell them to look at the rewards of their father. Just think about that. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses are asking for your property. They're asking for your money and tithes. They're saying that that the ministerial servants will come out to your house and show you how to auto tithe, how to take money out of your bank accounts, out of your pensions, and give a part of that to Jehovah because Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. I mean, just think about that. They're fleecing the people while they've got the people under hypnosis, while they're indoctrinated. See, I don't see anybody else coming in there. The preaching work is basically stopped. It's almost impossible to recruit people over the phone. You need to get them in there. You need to love bomb them. You need to do all the stuff that they do. And so what they're trying to do is, with the numbers that they have, I believe they're trying to take what they have. And now they're trying to fleece them. And they're saying, they want them to give to this new media center, which is millions and millions of dollars in Brooklyn, New York, Wallkill, somewhere up there in New York. They're wanting to build a massive media center. And so they're saying, Jehovah's not asking for your money, but Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. And so I just believe, the Bible says, get out from amongst them. Talk to people who've been in there a long time. They've lost a lot of their life. Life is a gift from God. It truly is a wonderful gift. And there's a lot to participate in. There's education. You may have wanted to get an education. There's great, wonderful books to read besides Watchtower and Awakes. There's some amazing books that would feed your soul. There's jobs and careers and wonderful people out there that are waiting to meet you and would love for you to meet them, and onward and forward. You weren't born to be a Watchtower slave, slaving for men, good-for-nothing slave. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? See, I've been out over 20 years, so I'm just reflecting back. My God, we called ourselves good-for-nothing slaves. And then when we leave, they say, you runaway slave, you're going to suffer the second death and curse the hell out of you. They cut your family off. Think about that. They cut your family off. They cut off everything that you've ever known for 40 years. I had 40 years of relationships in there. Shouldn't I have kept a little bit of that? No, the witnesses say when you leave, you are going to lose 40 years of relationships and your own blood. Your own blood. There's no reward. Nobody's gotten their reward. Hooking you in with paradise tomorrow and then indoctrinating you into fear. See, that's how you got in. I want to be in that paradise. I want to be there. I mean, I'll give up everything. And then you get in, it's Jehovah's angry. Jehovah's angry. Don't ever leave because you might be an apostate. You might be a runaway slave. I mean, they have got you to where you cannot leave. Because if you leave now, you lose paradise. If you leave now, Jehovah's might just kill you. And if you do leave, Jehovah will kill you and you'll suffer the second death. So there's really nowhere to go. But I want to tell you, along with hundreds of thousands of other people, there is life and life in abundance outside of Jehovah's Witnesses. Your life is waiting for you. You are made in God's image and likeness, and you are here to do something amazing. There's no two fingerprints alike. Your fingerprint is a unique emanation of a spark of divinity in you that's here to do something very wonderful and unique. And I promise you, it's not to pass out watchtowers. And when you think about it, guys, all of that literature now, what are they doing with it? They're throwing it away. They're not printing it anymore. It's outdated. They said they heard Jehovah's voice. They say they're the only ones who hear Jehovah's voice. And then they put it in the Watchtower and Awake and the Paradise books and the Revelation books. And now that's all no more. How much more are you going to give to these people? The Bible says, get out. Get out from amongst them. Separate yourself, because you are participating in one lying. You're participating in their destruction. You're participating in false prophesying with the governing body. I mean, shame on us. There's plenty evidence out there now. We need to get out. The Bible says, get out from amongst them and separate yourself from Babylon the Great if you do not want to share in its destruction. And part of that destruction for you is, well, now they want your mother's part of her pension. Now they're begging for money. They're trying to get money every way they can. And they're falling apart at the seams. They really are falling apart at the seams. They're not having no meetings. There's no more hugging and embracing. Why haven't they went back? Most of the churches have went back. They're telling you to take a fishing pole. What have you gotten for your years of service to them? I'll tell you what you got. You got an internet connection. Think about that. You got, what do they call it? Zoom. You have got a Zoom connection for whatever years you've put in there. Your parents have died and passed. They've just got a bunch of false prophecies. Think about this, people. Think about this. This is your life. This is your life now. This life isn't to be just thrown away now. I know a whole lot of people that think this life is for nothing. It's all about the afterlife. But the Bible says that you should work hard and see good for your hard work. You should maybe have a nice home and a nice car and maybe even overflow so you can share some of your prosperity, some of your things with other people. Just think about that. You don't have to let the Watchtower, and you don't have to be afraid of it anymore. Just read Deuteronomy. It says, if anybody has false prophesied, do not fear these ones. Because a lot of times people who false prophesy, a lot of people that false prophesy want you to fear ever any type of leaving, or they want to control you like you've never been controlled. So you don't have to fear these ones. They've shown their colors over almost 100 years, over 100 years, people say. The witnesses have false prophesied. They're false prophets. That's on the record. The Bible says, get out from amongst them, or you share with them in their lies and their false prophesying. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you today. Think about that. Use this talk to reason with people, to help people reason with people and get their thinker working. And we're really trying to help set people free. That's what my site's about, Life After Religion. Set people free. Get people thinking. Get them out of these cults that are running their life, and help them to live their life so that they can have life and have it more abundantly. That's what the Bible says. We're to have life and have it more abundantly. This life. And so anyway, I just want to thank you guys all for listening to me today. Thank you for letting me share. And like I said, check out my YouTube page, Life After Religion. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll get these notifications. I've got a lot more talks coming. I want to talk about consciousness next. What is consciousness and what is religion? What's the difference between religion and consciousness? That's going to be my next video. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, share with people. Pass it on, and let's help set some people free. These are our brothers. They're just brainwashed, just like a lot of religions in the world. People are just brainwashed, and they need us to show that love and to spend the time like we're spending now to help them and help set them free. Okay, you guys have a great, I guess today's Friday, so enjoy your day, and God bless you. Thank you.